who is representing Stockholm Chamber of Commerce in Uppsala, and he's running it together with colleague Therese today. If you can click next slide, Thomas, please, because we have joint structure of today's event. So I'll do a short introduction about the history of our business missions, and then we'll have Thomas talking about Uppsala region, and he has a lot of very interesting slides on his deck. And after that, we'll have a presentation from my end regarding our exact business mission program on 24th, 26th of May. And then we'll have time for Q&A, but for the questions and answers, please don't hesitate and start asking your questions in the chat. So we'll try to answer all of the questions, but please, so we're more efficient, but please ask the questions in the chat, and I'll try to moderate this Q&A session as well. So next slide, please, Thomas. And as mentioned, Thomas is regional manager of Stockholm's Chamber of Commerce in Uppsala. And we start with the next slide, which explains why Uppsala and why this year. So Swedish Chamber of Commerce in Lithuania has organized not one or two or three missions, business missions to Sweden. We have done it already for 5+ years. And we're trying to open doors for Lithuanian businesses, and as well introduce Lithuanian businesses to Swedish businesses, and as well open opportunities for Swedish businesses to look at the Baltics. And every time we do it usually once a year. So this year we're doing together with Kaunas Chamber of Commerce, and every year we have a different region where we're coming to, and we plan to come back to every region after, I don't know, 10 years or so, because there are quite a few interesting regions in Sweden which are quite active in business. And Uppsala is one of the largest cities in Sweden. When you will overgrow Malmö, Thomas, you have quite ambitious plans, I see in your deck.
In a few years.
Yes, but currently you're number 4 as a city. Is it correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So Uppsala is number 4 as a city in Sweden, and that was one of the reasons why we thought Uppsala is a good location to start. Of course, we had a good connection to Thomas and his team as well, and Uppsala is strong in life sciences, IT, and some manufacturing industries, and we have a strong educational institutions. I already doing a part of sales pitch of Thomas as well, but I will leave more stuff for Thomas to introduce, because I think this is really interesting region, especially if you're looking into some R&D and new ideas for business and how you could grow. Uppsala is really the place to visit and to get some inspiration. So Thomas, please take over from me and share the insights. Why exactly Uppsala from your end? I told why from our end, but please share your ideas.
All right, thanks a lot. I will give you a short introduction to Uppsala when it comes to the business sector and business structure, and also show you some of the opportunities that are offered here. I'm the regional manager of the Chamber of Commerce in Uppsala since 3 years ago. The chamber was founded in Stockholm in 1902, which makes it the oldest chamber of commerce in Sweden. And the chamber in Uppsala was founded in 1990, and from 2006 we are the same, because companies and people are commuting and working within the functional region of Stockholm Uppsala, and that's why we are organized that way. And my colleague Therese is also online now, and we are 3 people handling all the business connections within Uppsala. I should say something shortly about the kind of members that we got. The members of the Chamber of Commerce of Stockholm are employing roughly about 500,000 people, And as you can see, some of the logos here are very known internationally. For example, I see Ericsson, Microsoft, what is it, Sandvik, Skanska, and some other ones. And I'm sure they are also present, many of them in Lithuania. And that are the kind of companies that we work with. In Uppsala, we got about 210 members that have their seating in Uppsala, and there are also several companies that are located in Stockholm, but they're also present here in Uppsala, and they are the ones we're working with. When I started here 3 years ago, one of the first contacts that we actually got was from you in Lithuania, and you were talking about this business mission. And the first, it was meant to take place in the spring of 2020. And as you all know, we were not able to arrange with this because the pandemic hit us all. And that one lasted for 700 days. And as you know, many parts of the economy, especially in the service sector, restaurants and hotels, were very they were hit quite badly. And the unemployment rise, and the economy was hurt for quite some time. We all had lived under certain restrictions, and on the 9th of February last year, about a year ago, we're all sharing in Sweden because the restrictions were taken away. But then only 3 weeks later, we got the invasion of Ukraine. That is, of course, it's hurting the economy and the society very badly everywhere. And what we can see right now here in Sweden, as well as in other places globally, is that prices rises, energy prices are also rising, inflation, interest rates, and everything that is hurting the economy and makes it hard for us to develop the way we would like. So it's important to know this and have this in the background once you contact other countries, because many companies, as we see, need to prioritize their core values, and it has been hard for some time to make international connections, even though we can see that is now rising. The economic development right now is going down, and it is hard for certain companies, and I will tell you more about this. But even though it's hard economically, it's the vision and the aim that we're working for at the Chamber of Commerce is to make Stockholm and Uppsala one of the best, or maybe the best region in Europe to work and start companies within. And therefore, we have just 6 months ago presented a new benchmark when we have been looking at the 27 different capitals in Europe in 11 thematic areas, and using a lot of indicators to see when it comes to economic stability, infrastructure, digitalization, labor market, and all that. You can see the list of the 11 thematic areas. We have tried to make this benchmarking report and see how well are we actually performing. And that shows us that Oslo is the most attractive region when it comes to business development and welfare and well-being in Europe right now. And Stockholm is very shortly after that. And then if you look at the list a few lines down, you got Vilnius, but I would say the development of Lithuania the last maybe 20 years have, of course, increased the welfare much from compared to the early 90s. But before you come and when you come to Uppsala, you should be aware of that we are in a very innovative and competitive region, which is Uppsala and Stockholm. 3 years ago, this Nordic Minister Council published a report which named the State of the Nordic Regions. And the conclusion of this was that the region of Uppsala, as an intermediate region, has a very high overall position. It says here it has a presence of large universities. It actually got 2 of them. It got a very vibrant life science sector. We have a high proportion of people with high education, highest level of R&D and investment per capita. And we also have the opportunities of being close to Stockholm and the Arlanda airport. So this shows that Uppsala has very good strengths. If we would focus even more on the geography, we put Uppsala in the center here. The region now, which consists of 8 municipalities, just reached 400,000 inhabitants, which makes it the 5th largest region in Sweden and the 4th largest city. As I mentioned, we got 2 universities, Uppsala University and the Agriculture University, with 50,000 students and more than 6,000 researchers. So there's very many students and young people compared to how many people there are in the whole region. We got the international connections, and you will fly into Arlanda, and it is only 18 minutes to Uppsala by train. And it's 35 minutes from Uppsala to Stockholm, and there are roughly about 30,000 people actually commuting from Uppsala to Stockholm every day, and 15,000 from Stockholm to Uppsala. So it's quite a lot of connections. We've got a world-class innovation system that I will tell you a little bit more about. And we've also got some business strengths within life science, tech, advanced material, and clean tech. I would also like to tell you that in Forsmark, which is near by the coast, there is a nuclear power plant, the largest one in Sweden, and that has about 1,200 employed. And there is also something called SKB, and they are responsible for building the final repository for used nuclear waste. And that will be built, and in a few years from now, maybe 5 or 6 years from now, and the investment is almost 2 billion euros. So it's a lot of investments that will be made there. We got Sandvik Coromant that are manufacturing really sharp. What do you call it? I don't know the word in English. They're producing materials for handling hard material when it comes to manufactured cars and airplanes. We got Atlas Copco that are producing very advanced screwdrivers, also for putting cars and airplanes together. Munters are manufacturing indoor ventilation systems. Erasteel is producing the hardest steel in the world. Habia Cable are producing very sophisticated and advanced cables for nuclear power plants, for example. And Stora Enso are producing paper materials for diapers, and they're like a big employer. In Uppsala, there are several life science companies like Cytiva that are the biggest company in Uppsala region, Fresenius Kabi, Thermo Fisher, Galderma. They are all internationally owned, and they are producing companies, but they also got some R&D within the companies. And in Morgongåva, I should also tell you that there is a e-commerce cluster of companies that has grown only in the last 5 or 6 years, and they are now have a turnover of more than 1 billion kroner. 1 billion euros, and employs about 1,500 people. So these are the main players in the region. If we sorry, if we continue to look at the global benchmark, and when we compare Uppsala to other regions in Europe and the world, like Barcelona, Copenhagen, Oslo, Munich, and Zurich, and all that, the proportion of highly educated population in Uppsala is top of these benchmark regions. The GRP is high, the proportion of R&D is high, and the patents of per capita is high. So why am I telling you this? Because then I need to show you this business pyramid, which is applicable for all areas. I've been talking mainly about the exports. They are the globally competitive companies with high growth and with an activity that creates many additional jobs. There are not that many jobs actually in the companies, maybe about 13,000 jobs. But then on the middle level, you got the business services that support the export companies with the legal experts, consultants, patents, and IT services. Then they are really important for the ecosystem of development. And then on the bottom part of the pyramid, you got a consumer-driven services. And they are the ones that are dependent on the growth in population. And these were the sectors of the community, business community, that was severely hit during the pandemic, and that is also hit now when households keep their money by themselves because they need to save money for more expensive houses and more expensive food and need to pay interest rates and all that. And that part of the economy is severely hit, and that is also a very large part of the business sector in Uppsala. And it's driven by the growth in population. And I was telling you that 400,000 people, we have now reached that. 22 years ago, we were 294,000 people. So the population has grown with more than 100,000 people, which of course is good for the everyday services and the economy and the employment. And you can also see that on the lower part here, you can see the growth in the number of jobs when it comes to everyday services. That's where most of the jobs are created. The focus industries of Uppsala, as I mentioned, is the life science sector. It has about 6,500 people employed with a turnover exceeding 45 billion kroner. And it has biotech research, nutrient solutions, for example, within Fresenius Kabi. Allergy testing is in Thermo Fisher. And the life science sector is developing in Uppsala also because we got some government agencies that are important, such as the National Food Administration, Medical Products Agency, and the National Veterinary Institute. The IC and the IT sector is also fast growing, and often ICT and life science are emerging also. And an area that is now growing very rapidly is advanced materials and clean tech, and when it comes to different energy solutions, batteries, solar cells, and all that. This is just a view of some of the companies, and I'm sure that some of these will also join us during the business mission. And which ones there will be, it depends on what companies that will join us from Lithuania. And here you see some in the life science sector. You also see some in the ICT and the clean tech. And apart from that, it's important to mention that we got an innovation support system that is very highly ranked. I will tell you some more about that soon. And there are also several authorities and collaboration between the municipality, the county administrative board with the governor in head, the business sector represented by the Chamber of Commerce, and also universities. We've been holding this system together for the last almost 35 years, and you will be able to meet these actors once you come here. When we present this innovation-driven ecosystem, we talk about the collaboration between the entrepreneur, the risk capital, the money, and the private sector and the public sector in a university. And sometimes this is called the triple helix collaboration. And I would say that Uppsala was very early on this, and we are still developing this. It's also interesting to know that once you are at the hotel, when you stay here in May, there is only 15 minutes by bike to all different universities and anchor institutions within the city. You can see we got, as I mentioned, we got 2 universities. The yellow dot on the bottom, that's the agriculture university, and the Uppsala University are the yellow dots in the center of the city. We got 2 university hospitals. One is for human care and one is for animal care. And I mentioned the multinational companies such as Cytiva, Thermo Fisher, and Fresenius, and then the government agencies. And to these we can also add 3 different science parks. It's Uppsala Science Park, which has a focus on life science. You got Uppsala Business Park. It also has a focus on life science, but especially when it comes to production. And then a fairly new park is the Green Innovation Park that focuses on agriculture innovation and sustainable development. So what will you meet once you come here to Uppsala? You will meet the different organizations and institutions involved in the Uppsala Innovation Hub. You will be part of a matchmaking at the Green Innovation Park. Depending on what companies that will come here, we will try to find companies that can match you, and we will do this at the Green Innovation Park. The picture on the far left side, you have Uppsala City. You can see it says DB on the house in the middle. That's where we are actually sitting. And the hotel is Scandic next to that, so you will be in the very center of the city. We will also visit the Uppsala Business Park, which now has about 3,500 people working there. But the plans are to develop the business park to a very attractive city, a business city with maybe 12,000 employed. So we try to attract more life science companies. And on the evening on the 24th of May, the intention is to present you with a chamber dinner together with the ambassador of Lithuania in Stockholm to Sweden. And that's the room where we are sitting right now. And so that's a short introduction. And then it depends on what kind of questions you got, and if we'll see if we're able to answer them.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for a very smooth presentation and really some inspiration on the Uppsala region and main businesses. I think this is what we really expected to hear. So thank you very much. Now digging more into our program and how the mission will look like, of course, if you would be interested, you will have to register with either with Kaunas Chamber of Commerce, if you're a member of Kaunas Chamber of Commerce, or if you're not a member of Kaunas Chamber of Commerce and you're a member of Swedish Chamber of Commerce, or if you are not Swedish member of any chamber, you register directly with us at the Swedish Chamber of Commerce. And then when we get your registration, you will have to fill in a questionnaire where we actually identify your potential and interested sectors and maybe even specific companies, because with registered companies, we will share a list of largest companies in Uppsala region. And at the same time, we will share this information, what we get from you regarding your interest with Thomas and Therese on the other side of a pond to make sure that actually they can reach out to similar companies in Uppsala region and chamber members. How many members do you have in the chamber, Thomas?
We got about 1,400 if we include all members in Stockholm.
Very good. But talking about agenda and what we want to achieve during the mission. So Thomas already mentioned some things, but let's go through the detailed agenda if we can. So please click the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
So So the plan
There you
is
go.
no worries. So the plan is to arrive to Stockholm in the morning of 24th of May. I already got some questions from other companies who might be visiting their clients in Sweden. So it's okay to come to Sweden earlier, but we need to meet either at Arlanda Airport directly or indirectly in Uppsala Science Park in the morning of the 24th of May. And the plan is first visiting Uppsala Innovation Hub and stunts, where actually you will get more information and on one of the most modern innovation hubs in the world, actually, as Thomas mentioned, and as well a presentation on the region and on the next stages. Our plan is to have a lunch at the hub, and then the bus will take us to the Green Innovation Park, which is located at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And there we will have a matchmaking session where we will try to match your interest in regarding which counterpart participants you would like to get from the region, and we'll try to make sure that you get at least two meetings here with potential partners in Sweden. And after that, we'll be going back to the hotel. We'll have some free time, and then we'll have a dinner with participants from municipality, from the embassy, and from the local businesses. And the dinner will be as well opportunity to network with all the companies. And if that will be not enough, we'll go out to some close by bar or pub to continue networking. I'm sure Thomas will have good suggestions for us investing back to the Swedish economy. On
Yeah.
the second day, on the second day, we will start with a trip to Uppsala Business Park, where actually all the life sciences companies are located. So we will have an opportunity to get a glance on the developing community and get an introduction about the park, and then having an opportunity as well to network with some local companies which are already in the Uppsala Business Park, and we will be able to visit two life sciences companies in Uppsala Business Park. Then where we'll be going back to the city, the idea is actually to have few Lithuanian professionals who are physically living in Uppsala to join us for the lunch. And after the lunch to get as well some local understanding of culture and history of Uppsala, to have a walking tour of a city center, and then picking up things and going straight to the train station and jumping on the train to Stockholm, and checking at the hotel and having a networking evening with a Lithuanian Professionals Club in Stockholm in the residence of the Lithuanian embassy in Stockholm, actually by invitation of our ambassador. So another opportunity to meet people, open doors, and get some connections in order to focus on additional connections into Sweden and Stockholm. And on the last day, on the third day of our mission, we have invitation to Scania Park, which actually is one of the largest Scania manufacturing facilities in Sweden. So we will have almost all day visit to Scania with opportunities to visit production sites, with opportunities to see the R&D and testing site. And as well, the one of the very important focuses after lunch is to have opportunity to meet with different departments of Scania in terms of supply chain, so IT, manufacturing, and so on, to understand how the supply chain works within Scania, and how could a company from Lithuania become a partner or supplier to Scania's organization. And after that, we'll head to the train station and jump on the train to Arlanda Airport, and the relevant three flights, one via Riga, one directly to Vilnius, and actually one to Kaunas. So very good connections on Friday afternoon or Friday evening. So that's in a nutshell on our mission structure. And if you have any questions regarding mission, I already see some questions on the chat box. So please write your questions, and we'll try to open them and answer as we go. So Thomas, already one good question from Simonas, who is actually the director of one of the free economic zones here in Lithuania. So he has a very clear question for you. He wants to get some clients right away from you, not going to Sweden. So he's asking, do you know already some companies who would like to expand and in the couple of years, and of course maybe not to Lithuania, but in general, are there any companies who are doing well and willing to expand? And if you know such companies, would it be possible to actually to work on the arrangements of such a matchmaking before the visit, so they could actually be very productive?
Yeah, that's what we will try to achieve. We know that there are also already a few IT or ICT companies that have used programming competence from Lithuania within our companies. And Therese was also telling me about a company that uh, located textile production to Lithuania. So, but it depends on what kind of business sector you're actually talking about. And the more precise you can be, it's easier for us. So I couldn't say that this or that company are right now actually looking at Lithuania, but hopefully that could be possible as soon as we know what sectors we're actually talking about.
So Simonas, I think, is talking more about the manufacturing industry, because he runs one of the free economic zones, actually, where you can physically locate your company in, and mostly that predominantly the focus is on manufacturing companies. I think food industry is one of the focuses, but as well one of their largest tenants currently is a Danish company Dovista, which is producing Velux windows. So
All right.
one of the
Okay.
largest window
Oh,
manufacturing companies. So
oh,
any type of manufacturing activities,
yeah.
I would say, because we have a opportunity to have a connection into the Rail Baltica and easy rail connection to the Europe, so we can
Yeah.
actually get into the. So this is one question, and of course we could Thomas doesn't need to answer right away, and I think we can then look in detail after our discussion how we could be interesting. Free economic zones could be interesting for the Swedish companies. Going next to Agnes' question, and very open and very straight question. So, do you know anything on the competitive landscape of process improvement, digital transformation, process automation consultants, and solution providers in
Oh,
Uppsala region? And if so, what's the general view of the local companies on such consultancies, solution providers from abroad? Would they normally prefer working with local companies, or would they be interested in getting quality services from abroad, taking into account the language barrier? So, talking about
eh, if I would make a general comment on that, there are several tech companies that are using services and competence and from other countries as like the Baltic states or India and all that. So I don't think that would be a problem. But I'm not sure exactly who does it. But when I talk to companies like that, what they are all looking for is people to recruit. And if they can't recruit, they need to buy these services from somewhere else. So I think that could be very, very interesting. And there are several ones that are growing quite rapidly now, and they are looking for solutions just to deliver what the customers are actually asking for. So that would be very interesting.
very good. Giedrius is asking a question regarding are there any dairy producers in Uppsala region? Because of course we have a University of Agriculture in
Yeah,
Uppsala, but not necessarily cows next to the university. So
we got some
uh,
cows as well, but there that is it's really good that we are at this Green Innovation Park, because all the companies that are within that area are situated there. But any dairy producers, when I read that, I see a cow in front of me, and yes, there are some cows, but you know that kind of the dairy farmers, they have a really tough time. I don't know what it's like in Lithuania. It's really
very
hard to
similar, I would say.
get
Mhm.
enough to cover all the costs for diesel and electricity and all that. So that is a challenge to uh, be able for the farmers to stay in business. But good question. We'll take that with us.
Very good. So Giedrus mentioned that our company FASA produce dairy packaging and processing machines. So maybe not only, yeah, this could be a one sector is a dairy industry for them to produce a packaging machinery. So I know Tetra Pak is big in Sweden. So
yeah, but they are not our members.
yes, they're far in the south, as I recall.
Yeah.
Very good. I think we have very good questions here from the audience. Do we have any additional questions to what we have spoken? And yeah, so as mentioned, three industries are in focus here. So life sciences, ICT, and manufacturing. And you mentioned in your presentation you have a few quite big manufacturing companies in the region, not necessarily physically in Uppsala town, but you have quite a nice manufacturing companies in Uppsala region, and then of course it might be possible to attract them to come for the matchmaking sessions if we would need so.
Yeah, but the thing that kind of manufacturing companies are within the life science sector, so the production is situated in Uppsala, and it's good to get an insight in that. But these companies right now maybe have a turnover of more than like 400 million euros, and they've got 1,000 people employed. So it depends on what kind of manufacturing you're actually talking about.
Yes, it's very wide. It could be very wide from, but as I mentioned to some of the players here in Lithuania. So even if you are a let's say furniture manufacturer, Scania could be an interesting client to you, or any of the life sciences companies who have offices not necessarily only locally in Sweden, but they have some global presence. So that opens doors not physically only in Uppsala, but further out as well. Good. So I see greetings from Latvia here, and a good question from Arturas. What companies in ICT industry would you imagine be interested in looking for services? Do you have any examples of a company? You mentioned that there are some ICT companies.
Yeah. Right now, I know I know one company that is actually having these kinds of services. It's called Favro. I don't know if it's familiar there, but that's
one
we
have a little bit of operations in Lithuania as well.
Yeah, that's right. And there are some other ones, but I haven't asked that specific questions to that many, but I could easily do that.
Yes, I know Tripus is based as well out of Uppsala.
Tripus?
Yes.
Was it? All right.
Yes,
yeah, they're from. Yeah, okay. They're members here, so good.
Yeah. So you have quite a few. How many ICT companies do you have as a members in Uppsala?
It's so hard to say, about 20 or something like that. But even if they're not members, we know quite a lot of them anyway. So,
yeah, exactly.
and I want. It doesn't matter if they're members or not. If they're good companies, we will invite them to this.
Very good. That's very important. And of course, you're on the ground, so you know everybody locally as well. So I think we're coming closer to the end in time and in questions. We have answered most of the questions. So okay, we have here one question from Shirley. Number 4 town in Lithuania. Very good. So Nord Robotics is looking for partnership in life sciences and manufacturing automation robotics integration. So hope there will be a chance to visit Uppsala. So
yeah.
So that's as well again an interesting corner for integration. And of course you have ABB in Sweden, which is quite strong in robotics and automation, and especially in the manufacturing facilities. But sometimes you need some brain as well to manage and run the robots and stuff. So yes, the brain is here. So if I don't see any major questions here today, next steps for us to follow is either As you have been registered, you will get a link to today's video presentation, and to either Swedish Chamber of Commerce of Lithuania or Kaunas Chamber of Commerce will reach out to you to check would you be interested to joining us, and as fast as we can get your commitment, then fast we can transfer that to Thomas and his team, to make sure they can do the work on the ground in terms of matchmaking potential companies in Sweden. And yes, we usually do things in advance, but now we have a good 2 months to do things. So really look forward to visiting you, Thomas and Therese,
Yeah.
and thank you really very much for your time today. And this was really helpful presentation, more insights about the Uppsala region and how things work. And again, look forward seeing you all on the mission at the end of May. So
Yeah, good. Looking forward to seeing you.
so thank you very much, and
All right.
have a nice evening, and have a nice
Okay.
afternoon in Sweden.
All right.
You are plus minus 1 hour, so 1 hour
Yeah.
more to work.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hej då.